October 1917. The Bolsheviks seized power, tearing apart the short-lived provisional government. These revolutionaries, under Lenin's leadership, not only changed the country politically and economically, but under their rule the lives of millions of Russians would change. They challenged even the most deep-rooted social institutions, including family, religion, and the arts. Redefining the role of women within society was one of the fundamental changes the Bolsheviks wanted to bring to this new communist society. Lenin supported the idea of freeing women from their slavery at home and making their relationships with men more equal. The first changes to free women were brought by early divorce and abortion laws. The most well-known radical feminist was Alexandra Kollontai, an expert on Bolshevik theory and practice about the woman question during the early 1900s. She believed paid work outside the household should be the center of a woman's life, and that families should be transformed into a network of people who shared the tasks and responsibilities of the household. She believed in a much more free way of loving and marrying because of love, not money. Furthermore, to her, motherhood was a duty, but it shouldn't be a burden. During the early stages of the Bolshevik state, education went through great changes. For Lenin, it was an essential tool to build socialism, and so he entitled each child to 9 years of free universal education. The Bolsheviks were aggressively atheistic. They saw religion as a sign of backwardness, and therefore they sought to destroy religion and replace it with scientific education. This attitude brought the Bolsheviks into a direct conflict with the Orthodox Church, an essential body which millions of peasants were devoted to. The Bolsheviks were progressively taking away the power from the Orthodox Church. For example, they nationalized their lands, religious education was outlawed, priests and clerics were declared the servants of the bourgeoisie, and therefore they were arbitrarily arrested or even executed. With a communist state, art was bound to change and could no longer be just for a small elite to enjoy. The Bolshevik Party set up the Commissariat of Popular Enlightenment, which was headed by Anthony Lunacharsky. Workers and peasants were encouraged to produce their own culture, the prolet cult, also known as the proletarian cultural movement. He believed the prolet cult would be able to move people towards communism. Initially, it was exempt from supervision, although it was developing as an independent organization, something the Bolsheviks wouldn't tolerate. Lenin finally shut down its regional and central offices during 1921 and 1923. Art was greatly used in propaganda and for agitational purposes. Artists of the avant-garde were excited by the changes and wanted to take part in Soviet social experiments. Many movements like Futurism or Constructivism surged and influenced each other. Film was also a key component of the developing Soviet culture. A Politburo decision in 1925 not to intervene in matters of form and style of the arts gave Soviet film a period of great creativity. The most outstanding filmmaker of the period was Eisenstein, who wanted to show the power of cooperation. An example of this is seen in his film of the Bolshevik Revolution, October. However, the Soviet people preferred Hollywood movies to his complex works. Lenin's death in 1924 and Stalin's succession after a 6-year power struggle meant yet another set of deep changes for society. While Stalin set forth his 5-year industrialization plans and collectivized agriculture, he also led many changes within society. They mainly focused on the return to class warfare and a great retreat to more traditional values. The Cultural Revolution was an attempt to find truly proletarian approaches to science, philosophy, arts, cinema. It was more than an attack on bourgeois values. People believed great changes were imminent. Young communists mounted fierce attacks on religion in the villages, attacked the middle classes, and were enthusiastic in accomplishing all Bolshevik goals. The Cultural Revolution was not simply a manipulation from above. It gained a momentum of its own. The Komsomols, or the Young Communist League, was a very important part of the government to keep track of all possible threats. Their main tasks were to be soldiers of production in the industrial drive, to impose labor discipline, to enforce collectivization, to lead anti-clerical campaigns, and to loot the bourgeoisie. During the 1930s, there was a great retreat back to family values, the result of several government policies, especially collectivization and the 5-year plans, created a quicksand society which left millions of young people without parents. Birth rate decreased and juvenile crime was increasing due to homelessness. As a result, the government needed to root the society again, turning to traditional values to do so. The state encouraged a new family code that outlawed abortion and made divorce much harder, with child support payments in order to create a more stable society. Stalin not only returned traditional values to family, but also to education. He was outraged with the chaotic and inefficient state of schools and universities. He restored discipline and the authority of parents and teachers over students. Stalin also ensured that schools were guided by strictly delineated and carefully worked out programs and study plans. He wanted future educated workers for skilled jobs. Under Stalin, art was also changed. Avant-garde artists were excluded from society to establish an overarching artistic movement known as socialist realism, which was similar to Lenin's idea that art and literature had to educate workers in the spirit of communism. Stalin liked realism, which was easily understood and gave a story. It showed men and women building a glorious socialist future. Art, literature, film, and music were all under tight state control. To Stalin, constructing the USSR was not limited to building the structures to attain socialism, but also shaping the citizens that were to live in that system. This new Soviet man would possess a specific morality, values, and characteristics. He would be an educated and dedicated servant of the state, and far from the illiterate peasant that had long represented the backwardness of Russia and the USSR. All sorts of forces, including but not limited to education, entertainment, and campaigns to improve behavior, such as reducing alcohol consumption, acted upon citizens to shape them into the Soviet ideal of men.